Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Fronti.
All right. Well, welcome back to the fourth quarter of the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Don's not here today, so it's just Gino going a little unplugged and rogue and not following our regular format that we've followed for the last few years. As you know, Lou, I'm here with Lou Esbin of esbinlaw. Don likes to give structure to my life and, give it a little more predictability when I'm a little more free form, let's call it.
That's true.
We balance each other out. It's the yin and the yang thing,
Well, what I think is, you're from Argentina.
Yes.
So, last summer we were down in Argentina and Brazil, and we still keep in contact with some of the people we met down in Brazil. And I've always said that, this country is, we tend to look to Europe and we tend to look to Asia. We don't spend enough time looking south of our border. And there are some things going on in South America that I think we need to pay more attention to. I mean, Brazil is in a tailspin.
Brazil's in a major tailspin. Yeah, so let's talk about Brazil for a second. So I had a really nice client of mine, great friend, lives here in the States, bought quite a few homes in the run-up as a real estate investor in the run-up from '02 to '07. Did okay with that, ended up selling some of those properties, buying some property in Brazil, and then in the end flopped at the properties here like a lot of us did because just nobody expected the decimation of the real estate market to be as deep as it was. Yeah, look at that. If you're watching on donandgino.com, you could see Lou going, well, some of us did.
I was the village idiot saying, you can't do this.
So how do you feel about that today? Do you feel like we're the same? A lot of people are talking about us going down the same direction.
Well, I have my concerns. It's really amazing. For all the beating down that the Obama administration got, the stock market tripled in value.
Unbelievable.
And they did a terrible job of saying, wait a second, the stock market tripled.
Yeah.
But the stock market tripled because so much government money went into the market. I mean, Treasury was pumping, $80 billion a month into the market by buying up distressed debt. Money's flowing in from foreign countries because we're still a safe haven.
Yep.
So it's really hard to say what's...
The why is very hard to pin down, but you've got a couple of things, right? You've got real estate has appreciated, and in most of the country is back to old peaks, or in some of the country above old peaks, okay?
Yeah.
So we're looking at, areas near and dear to our home. Encino, way above the old peak. Right. And some of that's just demographics. Don gets mad when I say it's demographics, but look, if you're close to a large metropolitan area like Los Angeles that's gone through a huge capital investment to grow Los Angeles to what it is today, listen, you didn't want to set foot in downtown LA 20 years ago. And today you would love to be anywhere near Staples Center.
Well, besides having a degree in business, I have my minor was in sociology.
Right.
And I would apply sociological theory to business theory. And I said a long time ago that downtown Los Angeles, from a sociological perspective, is the center of your concentric circle.
Yep.
That's one concentric circle. What's one center? The intersection of the 405 and the 10 in West LA is another.
Right.
The intersection of the 101 and the 405 and the Valley
Huge.
is another. And from there, things emanate out. So in Santa Clarita, you can arguably say that it's the 14 and the 5, and it goes out. But wherever you look in the country, you could see the intersection of two major thoroughfares is usually that way, or something in the center. And it was the same thing in Los Angeles. And so downtown Los Angeles is really the center of that concentric circle, and it goes out from there. And I think you're right. Sorry, Don, but I think that you're right, because I've been saying this for a long time. And then when you see values at the far extent of your circle getting higher and higher. So let's take Palmdale, Lancaster. The last time around, when people were online waiting for their number to be called in a lottery to buy a home in Lancaster, we knew that we were at the end of our extreme, because it's so far away from the center that only one thing can happen, because it can't go any further.
Right.
So then it snaps back, and as soon as that area begins to decline, then your circle constricts down to the center again. You reach that center and it goes back out. when you study these things,
it's a wave.
That's exactly
right.
what you
That's
see.
exactly what it is. You're expanding and contracting
Right.
as market forces drive those changes.
Right. So if you ask, so I think what you have to look at what is going on in the exurbs, right? You have the suburbs and you have the exurbs. So if the Palmdale and Lancaster are the exurbs, what is going on in real estate values there? Are they reaching the levels of 2007, 2008? Are they exceeding them? I mean, I think that's when you begin to look at those statistics and say, where are we?
How much value do you place on, and I know I put a lot of value in this, that this is a real market, that everybody that I finance today qualified for that loan, and they occupy that home. There's very little occupancy fraud, which we had tremendous amounts of occupancy fraud during the last run-up, and there's no income fraud. Minimal income fraud. It's almost impossible to get through income fraud these days. So we're looking at truly qualified borrowers that could technically, if the guidelines are written correctly, they can afford these homes.
Well, I think that might be true, but I think you have a lot of money coming into the Southern California market as you do in the Northern California market that's from outside of this country. And if something happens to those people in those countries and they need their money back, they will dump property on the market here.
Right. What about institutions like Blackstone owning a bunch of property? How do you feel about that?
Blackstone started selling off their properties
Almost
three, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, they started putting them into REITs and selling them off, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. So they're decreasing their risk in the marketplace.
Well, they've made a killing on it already, so some of it's just profit taking. I mean, they've got to make some of their profits and book some of their profits if they've made them.
Right. So I think that there's this time around we have variables that we haven't seen before. And those variables, I think, you have a lot of Chinese money. I mean, I was just up in the Bay Area this weekend, and there's a lot of construction cranes and a lot of Chinese writing on the construction billboards.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something we haven't seen here in Southern California.
No,
but we are building, what do they call it over there, over the new beach area? Silicon Beach.
Well, but downtown Los Angeles, go back to downtown Los Angeles, right off of 7th Street,
right.
You have a very large project there that's all Chinese money. So the question is, you know, now even more, everyone talks about China owning our debt, but what happens when something goes terribly wrong in China and they have to pull their money out of here?
And there's rumblings of something potentially going terribly wrong in China almost always.
Right.
But that's the other thing is you're talking about a country that has the ability to manipulate whatever's going wrong and fix it.
Or not.
So far.
Right. Right.
You know, where other countries don't have that ability.
So whereas the last go around, you're right, there was a lot of people who should never have bought homes. I mean, the gardener had 3 or 4 homes, and right, it was craziness.
Yeah, I mean, my colleagues were all driving Lambos and Ferraris, and I was in a pickup truck.
So I don't think you have that. My concern is the people who aren't your borrowers, who are coming in cash deals.
Yes.
And what happens when they need to pull their money out? And also this time around, you have so many multifamily units that have been built. I mean, they're all over the place.
Well, that's because rents are crazy. Why wouldn't you invest over the last decade? If you saw what was going to happen in rents, you look like a genius right now if you built multifamily.
Sure. Well, and the Blackstone bought up all the single family.
Yep.
And so there weren't single families left.
Yep.
So people started building multifamily, and California encouraged dense construction because there's the housing need. But then that gets to what is the current state of the economy? You know, and what I've always said is that when I look at my clients and I look at the demographics of between the mid-50s and the mid-60s, those people have been left out of the economy. Okay, those people, they had great paying jobs coming into the Great Recession. They lost their jobs. Technology replaced their jobs. I don't think it was outsourced. Technology replaced their jobs. When U.S. industry is very quick to adopt technology and to become more efficient, so they lost their jobs to technology, and they just either they retooled themselves or they were kept out of the market. A lot of them never came back to the market, and That's who
drove
brought,
this country.
That's who drove this country. Who brought Trump into office?
Yeah, now
they're out of work.
Well, now you've got the millennials coming in. Like I said, it's to me, it's all about demographics. We could spend 6 hours talking about this stuff, Lou. I love spending time, discussing these points with you. We don't have that much time though, so I'm going to summarize it with: this time it's different, but the result may be the same.
We don't know what the trigger is going to be this time.
Student loans.
Well, I've been saying since 2007. I wrote a white paper in 2007 about student loans. Student loans are is a virtual debtor's prison because Congress. Well, look, when I went to school, I had direct student loans. They were called DSLs, direct student loans. Under the McKeon administration, when he was in Congress, he brought in private student loans under Bush and whatnot. And that opened the market to the Wells Fargos of the world, and they still made the student loans non-dischargeable in bankruptcy. And it used to be that a student got a student loan. Then they said, no, that's not good enough. We want the parents to get a Parents Plus loan. And oh, by the way, that's still non-dischargeable also. And oh, by the way, we're going to charge more than the market rate of interest for your student loans.
And you know what? We are going to be out of time. I did open a Pandora's box and a can of worms.
You
I
did.
knew that was a hot button for you. So we're going to have you back, which is a good thing. And I want to get into that now a little more when we do have you back, Lou, because even worse than that, if you're going to take that approach to it, is now you've got SoFi doing crowdfunding of student loans. You should just see that. If you were on donandgino.com, you could have seen what Lou just did.
I rolled my eyes.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you spending a little time with Don and Gino Unplugged today.
Very good.
Spending time with Lou here. Lou, how can they get a hold of you if they're looking to open a business and not fail?
You can reach me. Well, take a look at my website, which is esbinlaw.com. And you can reach me at 661-254-5050, esbinlaw.com. It's the best way to get a hold of me. Take a look at my website. I've got some good things on there. And, we're there to help you out.
All right, so I'm going to direct you back to donandgino.com. Check out the YouTube channel. Type in Lou Esbin, and you'll find a wealth of information we've collected over the years. And thank you for being a friend of the shows, Lou.
Thank you, Gino.
All right, have a great Saturday, and be good humans.
Be well, everybody.